Hi beauties, our topic today is living with sleep disorders. We're going to talk about all the different sorts of disorders, including sleep apnea, sleep paralysis. And this is a really important topic because according to the American Psychiatric Association, over 50 million Americans alone have sleep disorders. We're living with sleep disorders day in and day out. Your neighbor, your friend, maybe you or your mom or your husband or wife or whatever. Sleep disorders are everywhere. And this is something that we really need to look to and pay attention to and nurture back to balance because sleep has such a profound impact on our wellness and our health and our quality of life. So there are many types of sleep disorders. Let's start to get right into it. And they are grouped into different categories. And so some of them have to do with your natural sleep-wake cycle. Some of them have to do with breathing problems and how sleepy you feel during the day. There is, of course, insomnia, where you have trouble either falling asleep or this is what happens to me when I get really stressed. I can fall asleep easily, but I wake up at 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning with a lot on my mind, and then I don't end up going back to sleep. There's something called parasomnias, and this is a type of abnormal event or experience during sleep, like having nightmares or rapid eye movement sleep disorders. There's restless leg syndrome, which has to do with an uncomfortable urge to move your legs when you're trying to fall asleep, which of course is not conducive to good sleep. Narcolepsy is extreme sleepiness during the day and falling asleep during the day, sometimes suddenly, which of course is very, very scary. And then there is let me see if I can say this right, hypersomnolence disorder, which means excessive sleepiness even when you are getting enough hours of sleep and difficulty waking up. And then sleep apnea is something where we experience abnormal breathing patterns during sleep. And this is, of course, very problematic. If you have a partner, if you sleep in the bed with someone, sleep apnea can also be quite loud. And then there's something called sleep paralysis, which is when your mind is conscious, but you can't move your body or speak. This usually occurs during adolescence. It can last a few minutes, or a few seconds or a few moments. Stress, jet lag, sleep deprivation, and panic disorders can trigger this. So this is actually not usually considered dangerous, only lasts a few seconds, but of course it's very scary. So you can see from this list, there is a lot of different sleep disorders. As you're hearing this information, maybe you're thinking about yourself or again, a loved one, and you're like, oh wow, they didn't classify this as a sleep disorder, but clearly there's something going on there. Now, sleep apnea, which again is abnormal breathing during sleep, is something that 18 million Americans experience. And this can actually get to the point of involuntary cessation of breathing while you're sleeping. So the American Sleep Apnea Association says that there are 3 types of sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is the most common, and when this is untreated, people can actually stop breathing repeatedly during sleep, sometimes hundreds of minutes during the night and often for a minute or longer. In most cases, the sleeper is unaware of these breathing stoppages because they don't really know. So there are, again, this is all individual, but here are some lifestyle shifts that can really help with overall sleep apnea and sleep disorders in general. So we're talking about in a very general sense. Number 1, losing weight. So if you are overweight, if you are especially binging a lot late at night, this does rev you up. Your digestion is going to be in overload. You're not going to be able to sleep as well or as deeply. And also, being overweight really does affect your breathing patterns. It will definitely adversely contribute to sleep apnea. Now, avoiding alcohol. This is a big one. Of course, some of us like to indulge from time to time. I would just say, please be very mindful, be very conscious, choose wisely when you do want to drink. And if it's just a casual one-off here and there, you don't really care, avoid it. Because alcohol is very much attributed to frequent nighttime wakenings and making the just really affecting your breathing during sleep, really affecting your overall quality of sleep. Same thing with cigarette smoking. Smoking swells the upper airways that can make snoring worse. It affects sleep apnea. It just has a very negative effect on your health overall, of course, and that does include sleep. It's also your position is really important, especially with sleep apnea and other sorts of disorders. You want to avoid lying on your back. It's said to actually help keep the pathways more open if you lie on your side. Finally, I will also say that journaling before sleep is said to be really, really helpful, helping with insomnia. Because a lot of times we'll lay in bed and we'll think about, oh, what about this I have to do, or your to-do list, or you don't want to forget something, or you're mulling something over. If you get it out on paper, if you write down, here's my personal journal right now, by the way. Love this with the moon on the cover. If you journal before bed, even if it's 5 minutes, you get it out of your head on paper, you will start to feel better, and that should really help with your sleep. So those are some tips. If you have a disorder, please look into it, treat it, do something. Try these suggestions, talk to your doctor. You don't have to live with sleep disorders. There's so many aspects of this. We also have our Sleep Well program with lots of suggestions like essential oils and certain plants that can help with your sleep, and practices and foods. So please do something about it. Again, you don't have to suffer. I want you to sleep well. I want you to feel your best. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. Here for you. Keep the questions coming over in the podcast link. You can also submit suggestions and topics that you want me to cover more in these vlogs. Thank you for being in our community. Again, sending you so much love, and see you back here very soon.